Christmas in Europe. There's something incredibly magical about the holiday season here, especially if you're visiting some of the most iconic Christmas markets. We recently embarked on a 6-day Christmas market adventure across France and Germany with my mom, and let us tell you, it was every bit as charming and as festive as we had imagined. From sipping on hot glühwein in cozy little towns to navigating the wet, bustling streets of Strasbourg, this trip had it all. I'm Paul.
And I'm Bea, and this is Everything is Boffo. We're here to take you on a journey through our experience, sharing our highs, our lows, tips, and most importantly, the total cost of everything. Grab a cup of hot cocoa, sit back, and we'll show you how we explored 5 Christmas markets in 6 days across 2 countries, all while keeping it budget-friendly and fun. Plus, we'll give you some practical tips, must-see spots, and a few lessons we learned along the way. Ready? Let's dive in after the intro.
In this video, we're talking about our detailed 6-day Christmas market itinerary across Reutlingen, Colmar, Riquewihr, Kaysersberg, and Strasbourg. Honest reviews of the market, accommodations, and the food we tried. Travel logistics like flights, car rental, and parking. Safety tips, weather, and packing advice for a smooth trip. And of course, a budget breakdown.
Before we dive into the itinerary, make sure to hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel, Everything is Boffo, for more travel tips, life in Spain, and all things slow travel. Extra slow travel because we have Paul's mom, so this video is senior citizen friendly. Our journey began early on the 9th of December. We flew from Valencia to Stuttgart with a layover in Frankfurt. Heads up, Frankfurt's airport is massive. We barely made it to the last bus that takes us to our transfer. It's one of those run-for-your-life moments. That little 70-minute layover wasn't enough. We didn't get to use the bathroom. Even Paul's mom was kind of half running, but hey, we made it. Round trip, for 3 people with only carry-ons, we paid €531.61. Because who needs to wait for checked luggage when Christmas markets are waiting, right?
After landing, we picked up our car rental. We booked a manual transmission, but, surprise, got upgraded to an automatic, which made navigating Germany's Autobahn a breeze. Total cost for the car, €251.65. Reutlingen was our first stop, and let me tell you, this town is underrated. It's cozy and quaint, with a Christmas market that's small but packed with charm.
We stayed at the Riquewihr Hotel Reutlingen, which was super close to the market. For €123 a night, we got a room for 3 people, and everything was walkable, including the market. No need for parking stress here. The hotel had ample parking. We started off by walking from our hotel to the market, which was only about 10 minutes away. The air was crisp with that familiar festive buzz you only get at a European Christmas market. The first thing we did was grab some doner though, because 1, we were super hungry, and 2, we heard Germany is the spot to try doners. So after that quick meal, we headed to the market and grabbed some glühwein and some wurst for a snack. You know that feeling when the warmth from the glühwein hits you and just melts away the cold? It's one of those simple joys that really kicks off the festive mood.
It's not as crowded as the next villages we went to. I think most of them are locals. English is spoken in Germany, so it was easy for us to communicate with the vendors. The best part, the glühwein was the cheapest we found on this whole trip, and we enjoyed it in front of this beautiful church. Here's a tip. If you want to keep this cute little glühwein glass, you lose your €2 deposit. The prettiest ones were from Reutlingen, definitely worth it as a keepsake. I wish we took one home. So the lesson of the day is if you like something, get it. After a while, we decided to bring my mom back to the hotel so she could rest, and we took advantage of that break to recharge as well. Just because we're not in Spain doesn't mean we skip siesta. Later that night, we headed back out to the market, but it started raining. Luckily, we had our ponchos packed, so we didn't let the rain stop us.
At first, Paul didn't want to wear the poncho because they were neon green and pink. So we stuck out like sore thumbs, but I didn't want to stop exploring the market and finally convinced him to wear one. We got a few stares and a few people pointing at us. Yes, we saw you. And we looked like giant ornaments, but I still think it was genius. We were dry under those ponchos. We ventured to the other side of the market and got this cute waffle dish shaped like a flower. I'm still not sure what it's called, but it was crunchy and sweet. And if you know me, I like crunchy.
Exactly what I think it's gonna taste like. Kind of like a churro. Like a Mexican churro.
Like tortilla chips.
Yeah.
Whoa. As the night went on, we found a little shop stall, one of those where everyone huddled together under a big tent with heaters and decided to hang out there for a while. A couple more glue vines, yes, plural, some spritzkukens. We were feeling pretty festive ourselves. After soaking in the holiday vibes the first day, we decided to call it an evening, feeling really good about the ponchos.
So for Germany, the budget breakdown was 531 euros and 61 cents for the flights. That's for 3 people round trip. 251 euros and 65 cents for the car rental, and 123 euros with 17 cents for the hotel. So the total so far is 906 euros with 43 cents. So you're gonna have to forgive us for the pronunciation of all of these words. We're just gonna try to power through all of them, okay? So days 2 to 3, Colmar, Kaysersberg, and Riquewihr, also known as parts of the Alsace region. So after a hearty breakfast buffet in our hotel in Reutlingen, we drove 3 hours to our Airbnb in Colmar, France.
I think we're at the Autobahn now. On the 5.
It was our first time ever crossing countries by car. The border between Germany and France, marked by a bridge and their respective flags, was such a cool thing to see. Paul would jokingly ask if we wanted to take a side trip to Switzerland every time he saw a sign to Basel. Our Airbnb in Colmar for 2 nights cost 329 euros and 88 cents. The apartment was spacious and just a short drive to the market and had a nearby grocery store.
Our day at the Colmar Christmas market began after we arrived in town and checked into our Airbnb. Just super excited to finally explore the festivities.
Our host was super nice. He got into his car and told us to follow him to the market and excitedly pointed us to a spot that he found before driving off. Parking for Colmar market was free because it was a Sunday. So if you see a parking space and it says payant, that means you have to look for the machine to pay.
I read mixed reviews about Colmar's Christmas market being overly crowded, and it turns out the reviews are true. We arrived at 4 p.m. with just a few people, but the moment the sun sets and the Christmas lights turned up, the crowds arrived.
From the parking lot, we took a short walk toward the heart of Colmar, and as soon as we entered the square, it felt like stepping straight into a holiday fairy tale. Twinkling lights and timber-framed houses adorned with garlands instantly wrapped us in the Christmas spirit. We wandered through the market, captivated by the variety of stalls offering all sorts of holiday treasures, delicate handmade Christmas ornaments, artisan crafts, toffee, fudge, bakeware, cookie cutters, and plenty of traditional food and sweets. One thing they also had a lot of were smiling witches in brooms. I have no idea the significance, but it was for sale along with other ornaments. So if anyone knows the significance of that, let me know, because I bought one for our niece, but I don't think she knew what to do with it either. A Christmas market staple in Alsace, of course, was the hot wine or Windschaud. The wine was served steaming hot, spiced with cinnamon, cloves, and citrus, warming us as we strolled through the cold evening air. Think of a warm sangria. It was the perfect companion to the crisp winter weather.
The atmosphere of the market was simply magical. The blend of delicious aromas, festive music, and the chatter of happy visitors created a lively yet cozy vibe. We eventually found a place to eat, and it was the exact spot I'd been searching for.
I saw the one with the cheese sauce.
They served shukrut, a traditional Alsatian dish. Shukrut is a hearty meal of sauerkraut, slow cooked in white wine, served with an array of meats like sausages, pork, and sometimes even smoked ham. The tanginess of the sauerkraut perfectly complements the richness of the meats. Definitely a winter comfort food that hits the spot.
After our shukrut dinner, Paul's mom mentioned she wanted to visit the local church, so we walked over to let her explore while we continued to soak in the festive ambiance. Disclaimer, his mom will stop at every church that she sees, so part of this video will be about the churches that we went to. Collegiale San Martin du Colmar, or St. Martin's Church, was stunning with its Gothic architecture, and after we took the obligatory pictures of Paul's mom, we left her there to pray while we enjoyed wandering around nearby streets, which was still part of the sprawling Christmas market.
The Colmar Christmas Market is divided into several areas, each with its own charm. There's the Place des Dominicains, which hosts many of the artisan stalls, beautifully lit by the surrounding stained glass windows of the church. The Place de l'Ancienne Douane has a picturesque fountain in the center, surrounded by food stalls offering local delicacies. And for the families, the Petite Venée is the super popular postcard from Colmar that you see everywhere. It is especially magical with its fairy lights and more child-friendly stands, including small rides and a Ferris wheel for kids. Here's a tip. The area closest to the church gets super crowded, and there were shops that we couldn't get near at all because of how many people there were. But if you venture far out enough, like we did, you will see much more of the Christmas village without the crowds. The rivers were decorated with Christmas lights and looked so beautiful and romantic. By the time we finally dragged ourselves back to the Airbnb, we were absolutely drowning in holiday magic and exhaustion. And guess what? It didn't even rain. But by the time we got back, we were so tired that even if it had started snowing glitter, I'm pretty sure we'd have fallen asleep standing up.
The following day, we made our way to Riquewihr, and let me tell you, if you've ever seen Beauty and the Beast, yes, the Disney version, Riquewihr looks exactly like it was plucked straight out of the movie. Just a quick background, Riquewihr is a medieval village that's barely changed over the centuries. It's known for its well-preserved, half-timbered houses and narrow streets, and has been a key stop along the famous Alsace wine route. What makes Riquewihr stand out is how intimate and authentic it feels, perfectly blending the charm of the town's historical setting with the warmth of holiday traditions. We found parking at the top of the town's old fortified wall, which turned out to be perfect since we could slowly work our way down through the picturesque streets. As we headed towards the center, we found ourselves surrounded by cobblestone paths, medieval architecture, and as we got closer to the middle part, we could see already the charming little stalls selling everything from local crafts to delicious, very rich, Christmassy food, and all of that good stuff. I swear, every corner was like a postcard.
Our stomachs started to growl, so we tried to get a table at one of the cute little restaurants, but they were all fully booked. No surprise, considering the crowds. So, we kept walking and eventually spotted a line of people gathered around a stall selling gratin du Munster, which is Munster cheese. What does it smell like?
It smells good. Very good.
A creamy and strong-smelling cheese that's actually local to the region. It was baked until bubbly with potatoes. It was warm, gooey, and absolutely perfect for a cold day. So we grabbed our gratin with bacon and found a spot to sit in front of the Hotel de Ville, which is not a hotel, but a town hall. After that, we continued exploring the Christmas markets, and that's when we stumbled upon a man selling marron grillés, or roasted chestnuts. These were hands down the best chestnuts we've ever had. I hate chestnuts because the ones I've had no flavor and had a rough texture. These were perfectly roasted, sweet, and nutty. Before heading back to the car, my mom couldn't resist grabbing another pretzel.
On our way back up to the car, surprise, surprise, Paul's mom spotted yet another church. Knowing she'll be preoccupied for at least 30 minutes, we decided to pass the time at a winery in front of the church called Roger Young. And the Roger Young Winery, turns out, is a family-owned place known for producing excellent Alsatian wines. We walked in. The guy asked if we wanted a wine tasting, and we said no and just bought a bottle of red wine for the evening, not knowing that the Alsace region is famous for their white wine. As we were about to leave, I asked how much is the wine tasting, and he casually replied, "It's free." And I was like, well, why didn't you mention that in the first place?
So into the tasting room we went. The guy brought out 7 bottles of Alsatian wines for us to try. We started with a 2016 Pinot Gris. It was rich and slightly sweet, with notes of honey and ripe fruit. Then came the 2018 Gewürztraminer, floral and aromatic with hints of lychee and spice. Definitely a highlight. The 2018 Riesling was crisp and minerally, followed by the 2019 Muscat d'Alsace, which was light and fruity with a hint of sweetness. We moved on to the 2020 Pinot Blanc, fresh, zesty, and then the 2021 Sylvaner, which was bright and refreshing, perfect for a light meal. See, if you didn't give us wine tasting.
A bunch of winos here. Yeah.
After sampling all the wines and hearing about the history of winemaking in the Alsace region, we just had to buy another bottle, and this time we settled on the 2016 Pinot Gris. Talk about fate. This place was meant to be part of our day. Thank you, Mama, for stopping at the church. While the Christmas market in Riquewihr may be small, the town's timeless charm and its festive atmosphere makes it feel like you've stepped back in time. It was definitely worth the visit and a perfect stop to our adventure.
After our visit to Riquewihr, we headed up to Kaysersberg, another picturesque town nestled in the heart of Alsace, just 20 minutes away. Kaysersberg is known for its rich history dating back to medieval times. It's home to the ruins of a 13th century castle and was once a key stronghold for the Roman trade route. The town's Christmas market is particularly unique because it embraces the authenticity of Alsatian traditions, with artisans selling handcrafted goods rather than mass-produced items, giving it a truly local feel.
We parked along Rue de General de Gaulle and began our walk through the town. The street was lined with charming half-timbered houses, their windowsills decorated with Christmas garlands and twinkling lights. Quaint little shops displayed local crafts, and every corner seemed to have something festive peeking out. A wreath here, a lantern there. The roofs were decorated all in snowflakes and reindeers. The cobblestone streets with their gentle slopes made for a perfect winter stroll.
As we wandered up the road, we passed a sign that read, Marché de Noël du Kaysersberg, Noël Colmar. Being the adventurous tourists that we are, we decided to ignore the sign and continue walking. I think it's because we weren't really looking to buy anything, but then we discovered that the market was closed that day. Ha! Talk about timing. But I think it made the village more so special to not have to navigate the stalls, but just to see the brick and mortar stalls and their decor. Not even 10 steps later, my mom spotted another church, and as expected, she wanted to go in. Since I felt a little guilty for not joining her in the last few times, I decided to check it out too, and I'm so glad I did. The church Sainte Croix is an impressive Romanesque structure with beautiful stained glass windows that fill the interior with soft, colorful light. The vaulted ceilings, quiet atmosphere, and intricate altar made it a peaceful and unexpected lovely stop. There was something so calming about the stillness inside, especially with the festive rush outside. There's a massive crucifix in the front, so big that we audibly gasped when we went inside. I think my mom cried too.
After visiting the church, we resumed our wandering. We passed by a number of cozy restaurants and charming little shops, selling everything from Alsatian wines to handmade wooden toys. It felt like every shop window invited you to stop and admire something new. After about 15 minutes, we found ourselves at a corner leading to a stone bridge, and as we crossed, we could hear the sounds of rushing water. Oh my goodness, and when I looked to the right, there it was, the famous Weiss River. The river runs through the heart of the town, and even in the winter, its clear water shimmered under the afternoon light. The riverbank was dotted with old mills, and the backdrop of the surrounding hills gave the whole scene a magical, almost painting-like quality. I can't tell you how many pictures we took on that bridge.
We paused by the river to snap a few photos, read the map, and just soak in the view. Before heading back, we made a quick stop at a bakery to buy, what else? More pretzels. It had kind of become a running joke at this point that we couldn't go a day without pretzels, but honestly, we had to try them.
As the sun began to set, Kaysersberg transformed into something even more enchanting. The warm glow of lanterns and the Christmas lights illuminated the streets, reflecting off the stone buildings and the cobblestones. The whole village seemed to be wrapped in a soft golden light, making it feel like a scene from a holiday movie. Kaysersberg should definitely be on your Christmas market itinerary. What makes it so special is its perfect blend of history, natural beauty, and festive charm. Even without the Christmas market being open when we went there, we found so much to enjoy, from the serene church to the stunning views of the Weiss River and the charm of every street we walked down. I think this was my favorite out of the three. It's the kind of place that feels timeless, especially when it's dressed up for the holidays.
The budget breakdown for Colmar, the Airbnb was 329 and 88 euros for 2 nights, so the total so far is 1,236 euros and 31 cents. Day 4, Strasbourg. Now we head on to the Strasbourg Christmas market, starting with the scenic drive from Colmar. The drive took about an hour with rolling hills and vineyards along the way. Even in the winter, the closer we got to Strasbourg, the more urban the landscape became. But the charm of Alsace remained, with pretty little villages dotting the route. When we arrived in Strasbourg, we headed straight for lunch. After circling the block a couple of times, as you do when you're trying to find parking in a busy city, we finally found Restaurant Au Cerf d'Or, a cozy spot with a warm, rustic atmosphere. This was probably the only real meal we've had this entire trip, and it did not disappoint. This place had a classic Alsatian feel with wooden beams and tables, and the kind of inviting, homey vibe that made us forget all about the cold outside. It was very tight inside, typical of a bistrot. Now for the food. We ordered a true Alsatian feast. The escargots Alsacienne were delicious. Tender snails swimming in a rich garlic and herb butter that was perfect for dipping bread. The salad with shrimp was light and fresh, providing a nice balance to the heavier dishes. For the mains, we had filet de boeuf grillé with bourmetter d'hôtel and crispy fries. The beef was grilled to perfection, juicy and flavorful. We also tried the bekeofu, a traditional Alsatian stew baked in the oven with layers of marinated meat, potatoes, and vegetables. It was hearty, comforting, and full of flavor. It actually reminds me of a Filipino afritada. For dessert, the crème brûlée had a perfectly caramelized top, and the torsa marron was a sweet chestnut puree topped with whipped cream. Rich, but not too heavy. After lunch, I had to move the car again because parking in Strasbourg can be a bit tricky. Okay, street parking rules are quite strict, with certain areas designated for residents only and others for short-term parking, so it's often limited to an hour or two. Trying to navigate the signs in French really added to my stress. It was very challenging. Eventually, I found a spot all the way by the Nouvel Hôpital Civil de Strasbourg, which was about 20 minutes by foot from the Christmas market. Thank goodness, the walk was beautiful. I strolled through tiny streets lined with quaint shops and old buildings, each one glowing with festive decorations. The closer I got to the heart of Strasbourg, the more magical it felt, especially with the soft twinkling lights hanging above the cobblestone streets. Once I got to the Christmas market, I turned right and immediately in front of me was the imposing figure of the Cathedral of Strasbourg, where Bea and my mom were waiting inside. So I bypassed the entire market and went straight in to the Cathédrale Notre-Dame de Strasbourg. It was breathtaking, even more so at night. As I stepped inside, I was struck by the sheer grandeur of the place. Soaring ceilings, intricate stained glass windows glowing with color, and the quiet reverence that filled the space. The organ was playing softly and the atmosphere was peaceful yet awe-inspiring.
After visiting the cathedral, we were in a rush to leave because we hadn't checked into our Airbnb yet and our host was waiting. So we headed back to the parking lot, which walking took 30 minutes. So it was rainy and I lost my new beanie on the walk over. It was a miserable walk. It was cold and Paul's mom was having such a hard time walking for so long. From the Christmas market, we had to drive about 30 minutes to our Airbnb and the journey was a bit rough. We hit some traffic, drove through rain, and passed through a slightly sketchy neighborhood. Now, we stayed at an Airbnb on Rue Marivaux. It was $145 a night, but the building was super shady. It didn't feel particularly safe. I mean, the door had 3 deadbolts on it. And if you're staying in Strasbourg, I'd recommend doing a bit more research into the neighborhoods. We were close to the tram, so we could have taken it to go back to the market, but we didn't want to leave Paul's mom in that building, so we just triple locked it, ordered some McDonald's, and slept. Fast forward to the next day, we returned to the Christmas market and found parking near the Tribunal Judiciaire de Strasbourg. This was the closest available parking for anyone who wants to visit the Christmas market. It was about a 10-minute walk from the cathedral, so we took our time exploring this second day in Strasbourg. Along Rue de la Nouvelle Bleu, near Église Saint-Pierre-le-Jeune, we stumbled upon a lovely farmer's market. There were stalls selling fresh produce, cheeses, charcuterie, and all kinds of local goods. We got so excited when we saw that one of the stalls was selling Vietnamese food. We bought so much from him.
Eventually, our wandering led us to the Marché de Noël de la Place Broglie, also known as the Christkindelsmarkt. The market is one of the oldest in Europe and it's a sight to behold. Wooden chalets decorated with garlands and lights and all lined up in neat rows. At the Chalet du Petit Broglie, we found a stall selling all sorts of delicious food: tartiflette, a cheesy potato dish, pretzels, choucroute, and even gingerbread cookies shaped like stars and hearts. They were selling all sorts of sausage dishes that I wanted to try. But of course, me and my mom settled on currywurst, which was phenomenal. The smell of mulled wine and roasted chestnuts filled the air, making it impossible not to grab a cup of Wienschau to keep warm as we walked around. We ate, drank, and soaked up the festive atmosphere, but before long, the rain started pouring again. That was our signal to head out, as we still had to drive to Stuttgart that evening. Despite the rain, Strasbourg's Christmas market was unforgettable, filled with charm, history, and all the holiday magic you could hope for. I wish we had stayed longer. There was so much to see. The budget breakdown for Strasbourg: Airbnb is 145 euros and 78 cents for the really sketchy and scary neighborhood. Total so far is 1,382 euros and 9 cents.
Day 5, Stuttgart, wrapping up our Christmas adventure. For our final night, we checked into the Ibis-style Stuttgart Weinhingen for 152 euros for the night. We were ready to wind down after all of our adventures. It was raining, almost like the sky was crying because our trip was coming to an end. So it really did give us like a, "Aw, we're going home" mode. With the weather keeping us indoors, we decided to take it easy and order Chinese food. Such a comforting choice for a cozy night in, and I guess at that point we were pretty done with pretzels and bratwursts. It felt like the perfect, peaceful way to close out our trip, knowing that tomorrow it would be time to say goodbye to this unforgettable journey.
Budget breakdown for Stuttgart. Ibis Styles Hotel was 152 euros for the night. We spent around 70 euros for gas for this whole trip, which was pretty reasonable for all the driving we did. While our Christmas market journey was packed with magical moments, there's always more to explore. Between missed food opportunities and hidden gems in the cities we visited, we're already planning our return to hit all the spots we missed. Hopefully this list helps you make the most of your Christmas market trip and adds a little extra sparkle to your itinerary.
So if you're into slow travel, discovering local food, or just want to wander through charming towns, be sure to subscribe to our channel, Everything is Boffo, for more adventures like this. See you in the next video, and let us know if you visited any of these spots or have more suggestions for our next trip. Thank you, bye!